Hello everyone, welcome back to the Northwestern Central Railroad. Hopefully everyone is having a very nice weekend, and Super Bowl's coming up. It's time to get gamed up. Get your game face on, because now we're going to dive into a very overreacted set that you're going to be won by. Now I'm going to start off with a little bit of a monologue here, which is trains. Everyone loves them. We all do. A lot of people have major collections of these things. I'm trying to set the camera while I talk here. So yeah, trains. You all love them. And this is one of my lifelike F3s in the Santa Fe paint scheme. They all got really nice motors. You look inside, you got really okay build quality. You got some really cool looking detail on top. Not too much though, just so you don't break the bank. They're cheap. They're really plasticky, but they do one thing right: durability. These things are actually pretty goddamn strong, even though that they're just plastic. And they're just so cool. Like, even though they're so dirty with the crude detail in certain items, with unrealistic proportions, and just an unbelievable amount of cheapness to them. Sometimes trains, especially HO1s, get a bad rap sometimes. But there are a good one. There are really good trains out there. For example, my recently reviewed Walters GP9M. Even though it is very plastic shell, it's really good build quality. It's got a good amount of weight to it. It's got all-wheel drive, a flywheel, no traction tires, sadly. Really damn good detail, and it's got really, I think it has a decoder in it as well. All this light and friendly on the budget for $60, or if you want to buy a whole train set, you can get, if you want to go something from the 80s, you could get a really cheap F3 or like a really cheap freight set. You get about 4 or 5 cars with it. You get an oval or a circular track, and sometimes for the old Tyco and certain lifelike sets, you get accessories with it. You get a tower, you get a signal, sometimes you get a crossing gate, suspension bridge, which adds so much dimension and detail to a layout for a kid that wants to get started into the hobby. But there's a downside to that. Even though that is the cheap plastic crap from the 60s, that's the way that's going to get kids into the hobby. But sadly, these days, they just don't have that anymore. The only set that I can actually say that still try to carries that modem out is the Chattanooga Choo Choo set from Bachmann. They're still making it to this day. You get a very small, I'm assuming it's a Ursa 060 switcher. It looks like a switcher, to be honest. You only get 3 to 4 cars, but the only thing that's keeping it alive is you get some accessories with it. You get a little station, you get some telephone poles. I think you get some people with it, but it's still not enough. But that's why modern train sets really do. I'm going to quote this from one of a YouTuber. Model train sets these days really do suck. But sometimes you hit the cream of the crop. And this is what one of the very few standing train sets by Bachmann, which I think is still okay, but it's way better than what people say it is. And it is this. You may have seen this engine before. It is one of their, I'm going to move these other stuff aside. This is one of their really good modern scale steam engines, and this is one of their I'm assuming it's an FEF Northern. I'm not sure though. Obviously it's a Northern. But I'm going to move the camera back a bit. Let's see if I don't drop the camera. Now, you may think that this is all that I got though, but for today, I got the big kahuna, the Overland Limited set by Bachmann. And as you can see here, we get a massive ass engine with a really good tender, really good cars behind it, and all of this for only $280. Well, actually the full price I paid for $300. But there's a little bit of a catch with this thing. This is really a big box. I'm trying to keep it from stable. And Overland, more like over-exaggerated. And this is what this review is going to be on. Alright, here it is, the massive Overland Limited set. Now, as you can see, this box is amazingly large. And I love this set really much, except for a lot of the bad parts about it.
So without further ado, we're going to start off with a big 040 engine, which I'm assuming is a Niagara, with a Vanderbilt style tender, high cube boxcar, a 3-dome tank car, livestock car, a flat car that's optional with logs, a covered hopper, another high cube boxcar, another covered hopper, a regular 4-bay hopper, and a wide vision caboose. Now, as you can see, you get a lot of value for this train set for the price that I paid, but is it really worth it? Kind of. But either way, the other good specs of the set is the accessories, which gets a really good size oval of easy track, which for me is great. You get a new transformer, which I love even more, and you get easy made couplers, which is just KD couplers, a different name. They're just mediocre, but hey, they're pretty good. So, since all this set was in this box, we're going to go over it one by one.
Alright, with the intro out of the way, we're going to finally go into looking at the freight cars. I will do the freight cars first because the engine has a long explanation behind it, so we're just going to get that underway. So first off, we're going to go over the caboose, which is a UP 2007, oh sorry, 207. I believe it's a wide vision caboose. Now, I don't know too much about the road names or the specific names of trains these days, but I gotta say, it looks okay. Like, the paint job is fine. The detail on here is absolute utter trash because there are no rivets on here. There's just bumps and going in certain directions. One, you can see the bumps are going up, and then this one going down. Lettering is on the side. It's okay. You get the plastic smokestack, very flimsy, so if you give this to a child, it will break off. I will note right off the bat, I did do some modifications to some of these trains, and because it's just, I'll get to that in a second, I just feel like we got too much money worth on this thing. But I swapped out one of the easy make couplers on it, and I put one of my regular, I believe it's a Tyco hook couplers or shank couplers, I'm not sure what they're called. It barely fits on there, but hey, at least I can use this with some of my older other freight cars, because now I have to worry about making conversion cars because the couplers on them, they don't make too well. They do, but I just need to get a sturdy one. You could take off the cab on this. I'll do that. I may do that if I feel like it. But really, the detail is just so bland. Like, it's plastic. I mean, I will say, I'll give it credit. At least it's a little bit better than what I assumed, because you get the couplers are actually separately applied from the truck, so there's a little bit more detail or better scale acting than usual. But plastic wheels, plastic trucks are screwed on, but this is just terrible. And you know what's even funnier? I'll do a comparison side by side with some of my other models that I have. I have this caboose already. Yeah, it's a different cut paint, it's a different road name, it's older. This one's 25743. But you know what? This one has so much more liveliness to it, because you have these bars up that go up on top of the roof. You don't have it on this model. This one, even though this one's missing the smokestack, it's fine. But there's just so much more detail, a little bit better detail from the 70s or the 60s, which is like, come on, if you're gonna sell a $300 train set, and you're not gonna include any new, if you're willing to make it really, really cool or enticing for children to get, or parents to buy for their kids, at least acquire good tooling or new tooling, because this is just so dirty. It's crude, it's crass, it's not good looking at all. And surprisingly, even though that this has the old hook couplers and are connected to it, this car runs so much better than this one. I don't get it. Which brings me on to my next big complaint, which is the, I'm gonna show both these at the same time. It's the two high-cubed box cars that they have. High-cubed extended box cars. I think that's what they're called. These things are just so dirty, and you can hear it's shaking inside, because I'll show you. I took out some of the weights on this thing because I wanted to run if you want to run a long freight train, you have to take out the weights. There was 2 stacks of weights in this car. Like, are you serious? It's the same for this Triangle Pacific car. I don't get it. I don't get why you put 2 weights on it. That's why I made it lighter by putting only 1 weight and keeping 1 weight on it. But I have this cars already. I have plenty of these extended box cars. Here's one of my old Bachmann ones. I believe this is I'm sorry, this is a Tyco one. It's the exact same molding. It's just a different paint scheme. Like, come on, what are you doing, Bachman? I don't understand. I don't understand it. The detail is not good. Even for the standards of these days, it's still the same thing. It's really, really confusing. But at least with this one, you get their easy couplers, which is just, if this can get in the shell, yes, which is just another way of saying Katie couplers. I don't get it. It does not make any sense. These are just really, really cheap and rugged. They're not good. Which now we're gonna go on to the next car that I have another mock of, or an older model, the Missouri and St. Louis. I believe this is a 4-bay hopper. Now it's okay. Like, it has a good build quality to it, but why is the plastic roof for a fake coal load so cheap? Like, I'll show you. I mean, it's just okay. At least for rivets on this thing, I'll give it a positive. It actually looks like rivets, not like smudges of paint that a child made. I actually have an old one here. Here's an old coal load. It's the exact same coal load. It's the exact same design. Like, really? Like, come on. You can't do anything unique with this? Like, I don't get it. This thing, I bought this for $10. I have another one. I actually have an older one of this model. Like, two. This one was more recently purchased, but it's the exact same thing, even though this one actually has screws holding in the trucks. And yeah, it just runs better. These older cars run so much better, and I don't know why Bachmann is using old Tyco and lifelike tooling for their cars. It just does not make sense. Which, honestly, which will bring me to the next car, which actually I did think was quite nice. I did like it. It runs extremely well, which is surprising. The Great Northern 6-truck flat car. And it did come with some logs in it. I didn't want to use the logs because I've seen them before. I've had them before. This is actually an older model. This is a Georgia Pacific one. This one does not have the hook, the easy couplers on it, so the whole shank couplers. And this one, it runs okay. It's just not built right. It just derails a lot if it's in the middle of a long freight train. But this one, hey, they got it right. This one's not too heavy. There's definitely way too many weights inside of this thing, I'll say that. But hey, it can actually not derail. And it's got a good amount of detail on it, even though that's the exact same design. And this one's also Bachmann. Okay, so yeah, they're not really doing anything too crazy with this. But yeah, this one is one of the positives on this car, I will say. But I'm never going to use the logs because I have those old logs before, and they're so plastic. You squeeze them too much, they just snap into 20 pieces. It's just garbage. But next, we go to the livestock car. I feel like this thing is just an excuse for kids to have a demolition derby with it, because I actually had an old stock car before. I did. And I accidentally tripped on it. The whole shell completely smashed into pieces. I absolutely do not understand it. Which is even funnier because, hold on one second, viewers. I still have the old frame for the stock car. Even though it's the exact same size, but why are these so flimsy? The doors, you can bend them easily. I dare not even take off the shell because I don't want to break it. I only took it off once because, like I said before, there's too many weights on it. It's too heavy. So if I want to put it behind a good freight train, I took out just one weight, and I'm not taking the shell off again. It's just too risky. And with this thing, it's just trash. But yeah. But now we get to the last three cars in the lot with this set, which I actually kind of like. Is first is the 3-dome tank car, Climate. I don't know. It's actually, even though I never had a triple dome tank car before, I do have a single dome tank car. One, I believe, is for CCWS. I have no idea what railroad that is. And a Coca-Cola branded one. And so they're actually doing really well, even though they look like they've been through a dumpster fire before. But this one, I like the design, like, but I don't know why there's so much plastic. Very cheap plastic frame. The stairs are not molded correctly at all. Like, they're so flimsy, thin and plastic. It's thinner than my fingernail. The wires that are running along the side of the tank car is actually not bad. I do like that. The spin wheel on it, it's nice, even though I just broke it right now because it just popped out of the socket. It's just really cheap plastic, and a lot of this is just junk waiting to be destroyed or accidentally break. But then we come to the next two cars, which I never owned before, which I got pleasantly surprised by quality. We have two hoppers here. I'm gonna do the Santa Fe one first. I believe this is a grain hopper, and then this one is a covered hopper. I'm not 100% sure. But this one, it's quite nice. Even though it's hollow inside, it's definitely way lighter than the Great Northern six-wheeled flat cars. It's nice, even though there's absolutely no detail on it whatsoever. Because what's funny is I can feel rivets on this side, but there's none on this side, which is like, why? But honestly, it's actually not badly built. Excuse me. It's not badly built. Like, it has some good weight to it and a good quality, which is one of the very few highlights in this set. And next we come to the Lehigh Valley covered hopper. I believe it's a 4-bay hopper. Are they both 4-bay? Yeah, they're both 4-bay. This one is also really nice. Like, it's got a good amount of weight to it. It's not too heavy to the point where it's like, okay, you're going a little too excessive. You got the easy couplers on it. Even though there's absolutely no detail on it whatsoever. Again, the only detail that you see is the little valve covers for the top and the walk along staircase, the platform on top that people can walk on. But yeah, they're okay. But yeah, then we come to the massacre of the set.
So just a quick continuation on that last statement. It's really not that bad. Like, I have, and I had before, that honestly, I had a really, really bad running Tyco 282 Mike Mikado. And it was just garbage made, or just a garbage paint scheme, mechanics, and mechanism inside, but comboed together with a jittery performance. But this thing is the complete opposite of that. It actually runs really well. Got a big tender behind it, and is it really worth the money to get it? I would say yes. Like, this is the whole reason why I got this train set, is because of this massive engine, and because of new track and transformer. So yeah, looking at it, it's really not bad. So now there's a more in-depth, closer look at the engine. As you can see, I believe this is a Niagara, judged by the look of it on the front, and I gotta be honest, this thing is really, really nice looking. You got big, chunky trucks, even though a lot of them are terrible, especially that trailing truck. I'll get to that later. Good paint on it, even though there isn't too many overlapping points of contact with certain levels of paint. You get a good amount of separately applied detail, like the handlebars going around the strut of the boiler. Coming up to the front, you got actually a cute little headlight on it that does put out smoke as well, with the addition of a operating easy coupler on the front. So you get a little bit more play value with this engine in different directions. And the smokestack, the design could be a lot better. It just looks garbage. But either way, a lot of the specs in this engine isn't really that bad. Like, it looks good. And judging by the other YouTubers that have done reviews on the Overland Limited or just this engines that they bought separately, it's pretty good, even though people said it was trash and it definitely did not run well. I think it improved on those flaws. And I possibly think that the detail, even though that is definitely not top notch, for a starter set for 280, it's not bad. Like, it really is. It's pretty good. But I would love to go for some cab detail in there for the price that I paid for this big engine. But the biggest downfall was that trailing truck. It's just garbage. It's just held on by a little flange that's screwed in by a little bar that's connected to the drivers, and same with the lead trucks. It just don't work with too much as well. But those trailing trucks don't work at all. They just keep derailing. They cause a lot of headaches, and it just looks like garbage when you pick it up off the ground to move it, or when you try to fix it when it gets derailed. Alright, so now we move from the engine to the big Vanderbilt style tender, which I believe that's what it's called. And it's just like the engine, even though that it's just not built right. It looks really, really good. You got a good amount of build quality going on here. And especially with the detail on with the separately applied handlebars and the really bad design headlight, it kind of cobbles together where it's like this whole set is like what I'm going to call a gentle Satan, because it's so good at points, but when it gets stuff wrong, it gets you infuriated. And a tender, there's definitely no exception to it. It's got really weird details on the back with the headlight, complete plastic construction besides the cylinder for the drawbar connection and the easy make coupler. But everything else, it's good detail, but if they added a little bit more weight to it, it would have been better. But with the engine, it's not bad. Like, it could be worse.
Alright, so now we've gone over the features, or the big features of this train set, which is obviously the engine and the rolling stock. Now, you gotta have something to run the train with, because it's a starter set, so you gotta have something with it. And that's why you got a plenty amount of easy track, or what Boxman calls it. And with that, you also get your track connectors with the special track piece, a really nice DCC transformer here. You see the item number on there. This one does 16 volts. It's actually not bad. And then you get your toy transformer, which I'm a little nervous about running because this is not UL rate tested and regulated, because I don't see that UL logo. So I always get a little bit of goosebumps running this thing. Now, even though I ran this before, because obviously I needed to, because I want to see how this goes, this is how the track goes. You connect it. Want to make sure the ties on the track here are secured, and there you go. Now, the easy track, it's not bad. Like, it's really not. Now, I know there's differences with the black road one and gray roadbed one. I believe one of them, the gray is a combination of nickel and tin, I believe, and then nickel and aluminum, I believe that's what it is. And then the black roadbed is what I got here. This one, I believe it's steel. I'm not sure though. I don't know why they do different materials for different types of colored track. But yeah, those are, so you get in the package, you get 16 of these 22 radius inch curves. You get your transformer with it. You get your power supply, which is not UL regulated and tested, and you get your track connector. So I don't know why, but this is how the straights go. So you actually do get one special track piece that connects to the transformer, and then you get 5 extra straights, so you get a really good size oval. But this is really weird. You put the prongs sticking out of the track into the receptacles of the track connector, but you push it in. It's not satisfying at all. It doesn't even go in all the way, which I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do that, but that's just me. And then you take that, you pop it in the transformer, and then you spin your reel, and then there you go, you're up and running. And then for the transformer, I believe for the direction slide, you can have I've seen before, I can have the throttle on while you change direction. It looks really goofy, but yeah, you can. But I believe this is forward direction, and then this side is obviously going to be the reverse direction, because there's no, I don't think these are 3-position E units inside. So it's just forward and reverse, that's it. And the track, it's actually kind of bad, because our sauce, I got so angry. You can see leftover plastic from molding in here. So there's been, I don't know what this is called when when the plastic has been permanently stamped into a mold, and then there you go. I'm not sure what that's called, but there's leftover little pieces of plastic from the mold, which obviously does not look good. This is one of the better pieces of track on the curves, because one of them, I'm not sure if it's this one. You know, it's not. Some actually do have nothing on it. Like, they look okay, even though the detail on it, it's not bad. I just get a little concerned if it's actually worth my money. But one of the pieces on here, you can literally see a piece of string hanging out from the mold because it's just so much left over from it. But this is one of the big problems I noticed with the track that I should have took into consideration. When you flip upside down, when you want to put the track together, you're bending these little plastic pieces that have a good secure lock on it. Yeah, it works, but if you keep clicking and keep pulling it apart, putting it back together, pulling it apart, putting it back together, etc., etc., keep doing that so much more on, I feel like these plastic pins are just going to be so worn out that they're just going to snap off, or they're not going to have a good powerful tension to it. So it just does not make sense. Why would you have that plastic piece on there? And for some other older track, it's just literally just a road bed. There's no road bed on it. There's just certain pieces. I actually got a demonstration. This is, I believe this is 24-inch radius, 24 or 20-inch radius track for my lifelike set with the F3 in it that I got from Trains. All you just gotta do is connect the two tracks together, make sure that the little track connectors are together, and there you go. I mean, this is obviously not the best 100% reliable option, because it's going to be more towards like making a more permanent layout instead of making a little layout which you're going to set up on the floor. Yeah, it works both ways, but you're going to get a way better option and better durability and performance when you drill it to a piece of wood. This, you can't do anything to it. It's just mainly used just to put on the floor and play with, because I don't see any screw holes on the curves or the straights to hold these things down. Unless I'm tripping, unless there really is a way to do it, let me know in the comments, because I'm not sure. But this is definitely a way less permanent way of making a layout rather than using that other simpler road bed. So we're just gonna, since we finally went through all of the contents in this massive box, I'm gonna do a upside down one. Everything in this massive box. Since we got that all undercovered, we're gonna go to the layout and go through the first problem that I have with the engine. Let's go. Alright, so I made a small oval. It's the oval that the whole set that came with it. And I'm just going to show you a quick demonstration of why I strongly dislike this engine. Even though that it's so cool, it's massive, it's big, it's just utter disappointments. So when putting this thing on the track, it is very tedious because you absolutely do not get a roller or a re-railer, a little plastic piece to put put the car's roller stock on, put it on the track, whoosh, there you go. Instantly, your cars are on the track. You don't get that, so even for a kid trying to play with this, even for the 14 and up age recommendation, it's not good. But anyway, so this is your controller. As you can see, it is plugged into the wall by the light here. To toggle between directions, you're going to use the switch on top. And then for using the throttle, to change the throttle, you're going to move it up and down. Obviously, this thing is way, way better than my lifelike transformer, because this time you can actually get some slow movement out of it. But yeah, I'm just going to do a little quick demonstration, because I believe you can actually see the headlight come on the engine when you actually start to move, before it starts moving. So I'm going to start slowly turning up the power. I was mistaken. Also I forgot to mention earlier, this obviously does not have directional lighting because there's no tether connecting to the tender for the really fake bulb on it. Even though there is no bulb on it, it just looks like a plastic clear insert there. There's absolutely no way to tell if this thing is going backwards or not. So that's why when it goes backwards, the light in the front turns off. It runs okay. I mean, it's definitely not the greatest, because I still think the tough competition that this thing has is with the Walther's GP9M. I'm just gonna show you a really quick demonstration on that thing running on off this transformer. Hear a little bit of the buzz. It runs so much slower. And it does need a little kick from time to time. Even look how much the speed odometer on that thing is. It's so slow. And then obviously for the faster speeds, it's good. But this is where the flaws start to occur. Because when you put the engine on the track, and when you get all your wheels oriented, this thing loves to derail, even with the provided track that comes with the set. Now I'm not sure why, but it does do that. I'm gonna show that right now. Just gonna start running loops around the track. This is the max speed. It's not too fast. Can you hear that? It didn't even make a loop around the track before the trailing truck completely derailed. And this is the track that was provided with the engine. Like, it's so loose, it's so light, with the connection from that little tiny bar that's holding onto the engine and to the tender, not the tender, the bar. It's just so light. And it just derailed. Even with the provided track that this thing comes with. It can't do a full lap. It really can't. But hey, it's definitely way better than what some other guy did a video on. I forgot the YouTube channel's name, but he obviously referring to what I said earlier, he did a two-parter video on why modern train sets suck. Yes, that is the title of it. He talked about the Overland, and he said that this thing was actually really nice to buy because you get a really big engine for, I'm assuming, for an okay price. You get 9 cars behind it. Like, you don't get that these days anymore. But then he bought himself an Overland. Not the most modern one, I will admit that he did get an older model with a Canadian National engine. And with that, he noticed problems with it. And with that problem, he saw that the drawbar for the engine connected to the tender was too low, and yet it could barely even control anything. And obviously, it's an older model, so I'm not gonna blame him for that. But I will say, I don't know if Bachman was watching these videos and taking note, but they definitely got their act together. And I think it just derailed again. Oh my god. No, I'm just tripping. Okay. But I feel like some person working at Bachman, or like saw this, started taking notes. I'm like, hey, we gotta fix this thing. And you know what? They delivered. I mean, I will say they fixed the drawbar issue. They fixed some of there's absolutely no wiring connected to the engine of the tender anymore, unless that was only for the separate sale model. I'm assuming that one had a reverse light on it. But yeah, all in all, this thing is it's an okay runner. It does run pretty well. I'll try to do a slow speed here, get some good footage. Like, it's not bad. Like, it really isn't. But I don't know why it cuts out. And it's very jittery because you can hear the tender connection on it. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. As it gets stuck again. And I've played with this for about a day and a half now, so it's got about 4 or 5 hours of runtime on it. And even with the track that this thing came packaged with, it does not run well. it does not. Even when I tried to do it with my lifelike track that I showed earlier. Oh, no wonder why it wasn't running well, because this track pen did not fit it properly. But yeah, I got the other cards for this entire set here laid out. And I got some extra little goodies to surprise the viewers with. And if I can, there we go. You gotta really be careful with these track pins. I'm gonna deviate for 1 second. You gotta really check for these track pins because they are sneaky. They can get past your vision from time to time. And let me make sure. Also, for some reason, that even right out of the box, I noticed this when I got it. If it can see, it's dirty right here. It's dirty on some of the ends of the track pins. It's even on. It's on every single piece. In certain areas, though. There we go. I'm not understanding like why that happens though. But yeah, I'm gonna get the cars on the track here, and I'm gonna pull the engine up. Get some cars on the track that were made for this set, and we're gonna run it around.
So here's my review of the Overland Limited set as it's going to be running around in the background here. I would say if you want us to get started in the hobby or get a really nice starter set that gets a lot for your money, or at least a lot of products in your package that you're getting, I would say go for it, because you know what, if you can try to find it for around $260, $270 for that price tag, obviously you got to worry about taxes, but for that price it's not bad. Like, obviously you're not going to get the grade A quality that you would expect from like Kato or something, but for this stock set, I think it's really good. And just a little quick demonstration of that trailing truck on the end of that engine. Just keep derailing while it keeps going around. It's provided track that was in the set. But either way, it looks really good running around. I would highly recommend it for anyone. But to be fair, if you do want to buy it, it's definitely better than usual. Even make a little bit of conversion cars with this set, even like what I did here. And even as that, it looks really good with my Athearn passenger cars. But either way, if you want to get a good size set for a lot of money, but not too much to break the bank, I would highly recommend going for this. But do not go for it if you want to get a scaled level layout. Or you could get scammed by this terrible website on Bachman. They're selling this for $400. No!